Good morning. So, first of all, something amazing happened the other day. People's Person of the Year ended up being a group of very brave people who stood up for against sexual harassment. And the interesting thing about it is that a sexual harasser, an admitted sexual harasser, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, he came in second to these women. And a few men were also on those pages, but very few men. That's what we're going to talk about today. But I just can't imagine. I can't wait to see the tweets, and I'm sure there will be many of them that, I was never in the running. I told them to take my name off of it. This is no big deal. I should have been the person of the year because I did the most for the American, for the world, than anybody else. Oh well. It is interesting, though, that people decided to put the accusers on the cover of their magazine rather than the accused and the admitted, because he did admit it. So anyway, a few days ago, I put up a post asking for men because I saw a post by a friend of mine asking, where are the male victims of sexual harassment? I didn't dress properly today. And there really are very few of them. And this show is going to discuss why, because when I asked the question, tell me your stories and I will tell your stories, I will share them on my show. I've done many shows about domestic abuse, domestic violence, and abuse against all different kinds of people. And in researching that blog that I did many, many years ago when I had a website, I found many male victims of sexual abuse, domestic violence, men being violated by women, verbally and physically. And yet, every morning I turn on the television and there's another woman. Me too. So and so, men's careers are falling. People are getting kicked out of their jobs. They're getting vilified. They're getting criminally prosecuted for being rude or harassing women. Where are the men? So I asked this question on my timeline. I said, if you are a man who has been the victim of any form of sexual harassment at work by a woman, by a powerful woman, by a female boss. And you know what I got in response? I got jokes. Ha ha. Oh, I married her. Yeah, one viewer wrote, I married her, my abuser, my sexual harasser. It's all snarky. It's all funny when it's a man, a male victim. Men are raped. Men are victims of rape. Men are victims of sexual harassment. But they don't come forward. And this is why. It's why. Now, I'm going to talk about some things in this show, and believe me, I'm not tagging anyone under the age of 18 in this show. And you may not want your children to watch this show, because I'm going to use some appropriate biological terms, like penis and arousal. Many men do not come forward when they are sexually assaulted because the organ worked. They got hard. Many people say, how can a man be raped? Because the only way a man can actually have sex is if, again, he's aroused. Well, guess what? 85 to 90% of women rape victims experience sexual arousement during their attack. That does not mean it's their fault. Many women experience shame because they got excited, physically aroused. Arousal is a physical response to stimulation in certain areas of your body, whether it's consensual or not. It doesn't mean you said yes because the parts of your body that were being violated worked during the attack. It happens. It happens a lot. But it is why a lot of men don't come forward to report their violation. They also have to get the laugh factor. You're 6'1", you weigh 185 pounds. You let that woman rape you? You couldn't handle the little woman? You can't control your wife who throws glasses at you and cuts your face and breaks your ribs and gives you a black eye? It's shameful for a man to admit that a woman got over on him, that a woman assaulted him. But that does not make that man less of a victim. And I promise you this, these men are probably thinking, yeah, I've been assaulted, I've been harassed at work, I've been told by my female boss, sleep with me or I'm going to fire you. Sleep with me or I'll tell your wife you slept with me anyway and she'll believe me. There are men in that situation. But do you think Megyn Kelly is going to put them on her show? Probably not. And these men know that. So they stay silent. They hide in their closets because they have more of a shame than even a woman does. Women are told this is just the way it is. Men are pigs. And now we have men that are afraid to tell a woman that she looks pretty today because they might end up getting sued for sexual harassment. That's how bad it's gotten. Any woman who wants to get on Megyn Kelly or on the Today Show, all she has to say is me too, and she's on. But a man, what man is going to say that? We know there are male victims out there. Adult men who have been sexually harassed in the workplace, who have been terrified of their wives, their girlfriends, who have become violent with them. But they are the ones who rarely report it. We know there are male rape victims, men who have been raped by women, and they don't report it because they are ashamed, because they're the man. No woman is supposed to get over on them, but they are still victims. And I do believe that we should hear from them, and that any woman who has used her position of power to harass a male employee, whether it be verbally or physically, that woman also needs to be brought into the public light, to be fired from her job, to lose her career, to have her life destroyed, like so many of these men have. Now look, I'm not saying that these women who have brought down Weinstein and Matt Lauer and Kevin Spacey and everybody else, I'm sorry, not Kevin Spacey, that was little boys. But all these men who have been shamed and have lost their reputations and their careers, I'm not saying those women are lying. Okay? But even if one of them is, shame on us for simply believing them because they're women. One viewer wrote to me and said, yeah, isn't it funny that only a woman can be a victim? And he knows who he is. I'll just say it. It's a guy named Jeff, and he's a really good friend of mine, actually. Haven't seen him in a while, but he's a good guy. And it does seem that in our country, we see women as, oh, look at the little women. And yet, look, we allow women to serve on the front lines in the military, to pick up a weapon, to go through basic training, to serve, to play sports, to act like men, because that's what the feminist movement was all about. We can do anything a man can do, and we can do it just as well or better. And yet, only a woman is a victim. Only a woman can be raped. Only a woman can be sexually harassed in the workplace. Well, I say that's not true, and I'm trying to open a door here. I have promised any man who comes forward with a story of sexual harassment or even sexual assault by a woman has a safe place to share their story right here at Political Paula. I will not mention your name. Believe me, I'm good at it. I will make sure no one knows who you are, but I will share your story because I think it's a conversation we're not having. And what conversation we're sending to our young men, our boys, our kids, is that you have to tiptoe around a woman, but a woman can do anything she wants. We want more women in power. We want more women CEOs. We want more women taking charge of their households. And it's almost like we are trying to cut the balls off of our men and make them subservient to us. You know, I can't open a door for a woman now because she might think I'm trying to sexually harass her. I can't compliment one of my employees because she has a new hairdo, because that could be a problem for me. It's all about the women. But I bet a female employee is perfectly capable of saying, "Oh, you look hot in that suit today, dude. Man, if I weren't married, I'd love to fuck you." That's sexual harassment. But will that man report that to HR, to human resources? Probably not. Probably not. A female employer asks one of her male employees to go out for a drink with her to discuss his review. If a male employee did that, if a male CEO did that to a female employee, that would be sexual harassment. Why is he asking me out for a drink? What's he going to do? Get me drunk? But would a male employee report that same situation to human resources? Probably not. Probably not. He would go out for the drink. This is what we are faced with right now. And if women, again, I've told you before, I'm no feminist. I do believe women are the weaker sex. I do believe that a good husband takes care of his family. I believe a good man is the breadwinner for the family. I'm old-fashioned like that. If it's possible, I believe that's the way a family should run. Now, I'm not saying my husband is the boss of me. Trust me, if he watches this show, I don't want him to think that. He's not. We're partners. But he is not the boss of me, but I'm also not the boss of him. Nobody's the boss. We're equal. And being equal means that a woman is just as capable. If she can fire an automatic weapon and go off to Afghanistan and fight on the front lines, she is just as capable of raping a man or sexually harassing a man. It goes both ways. And this is going to be the shortest show in the history of my show because, again, nobody responded with a real story. It was all jokes. Ha ha ha, yeah, right. Men being harassed. Ha ha ha. Yeah, oh, I married my sexual harasser. Ha ha ha. For any man who has truly been victimized, it's not ha ha ha. It's not funny. And I continue to open my personal message box to any man who wants to share his story. Because I know you're out there. And just because all these women are coming out going, "Oh, poor me. Yes, I was just a little woman in the 80s, the 2000s, 2 years ago. Yeah, just a little woman. Didn't know anything about my rights. Didn't know that women have a right not to be harassed at work." Or 40 years ago when it wasn't a big deal. Trust me, there are men out there who are Me Too's, Me Alsos. And I think we should hear from them. Women do not have the only right to claim being victims. And the fact that people who say they are feminists and they are all for women's rights and we need more women as CEOs, we need more women in power, we need a female president. Sure, we do. But with that, then we as women also need to take responsibility for how we comport ourselves in the workplace and ask ourselves if we want to be victims Or if we want to stand up and say, look, you know what? I'm not going out for a drink with you just because you're the boss. I'm not going to go to your hotel room for a meeting. You have a problem with that, I will go public. I will go to HR. I want to have a business relationship with you. Any woman can do that. And any man can do it too. We cannot say that women are equal and then only allow women to be victims. That's my very short show for today. But I'm hoping in the future to do a longer show on this topic. Because a man actually wrote something about this. Where are the male victims of sexual assault, sexual harassment, domestic violence? I've reported on domestic violence against men by their girlfriends and their wives and their mothers. That was part of the blog too. So I know it exists. But the sad part is that men are ashamed to admit that it exists. And now we're just in the opposite of how the women felt 30 years ago when they said, oh, everybody experiences it. I can't say anything. Now we have all these women saying everything, and we have the men hiding, ashamed to say me too. But I'm here. Political Paula is here for you. You want to share your stories? Real stories, not the snarky stuff about, oh, I married my sexual harasser or whatever. I'm here to listen, and I will share your stories. And I will bring you out into the limelight and give you maybe a little bit of closure, because you are as much as a victim as any of these women that are on Megyn Kelly and the Today Show and CNN every single day. You count, and Political Paula would like to make you count. But until you come forward, there's nothing I can do. And there's nothing anyone can do until you come out and say, me too. Political Paula, out.